Today's talk. What story runs you? And the reason I came to wanting to talk about this is I started noticing myself and my beliefs about not being good enough, my beliefs about being a failure, my beliefs about not that I don't matter. And as I looked at those beliefs, I realized that they were attached to stories about my past. And that I told these stories rather often. And it occurred to me that every time I told a story about my past, I was bringing it into my present and actually fueling my future. And so Ashley had this brilliant idea of whenever I told those stories to add to it in the past or up until now. And that simple phrase, those simple phrases change everything. You know, some people say it's just semantics, but there's no such thing as just semantics given our words have power, right? We talk a lot here about embodiment, that what we create in the world is out of what we embody. What we embody is the totality of our words, thoughts, actions, feelings, race consciousness, conscious and unconscious, anything going on with it, the totality of what we embody shows up in our lives as a reflection instantly. And so when we change what we embody, we get what we want quickly. When we don't change what we embody, we work on that through how we feed our beliefs, through our thoughts. But it all starts, you know, our beliefs can get really caught up in our stories. And so it becomes very, very important what stories we share and how we share them. Not just what stories, but how we share them. And so the idea of saying in the past leaves that story in the past and then doesn't bring it into the present, where it then fuels our future. By saying up until now, leaves it off at a place before now, because now is what we have that fuels our future. You know, many of us have stories, like one of mine is how badly I was treated by my mom. She was completely untrustworthy. She never kept her word. Now, my mom is a beautiful woman, and I love her very much. But when I was a little kid, I couldn't believe anything she said. And so I have been divorced 3 times by women I could not believe anything they said. I could not trust them. Now that's called bringing a story from the past into your present. So I come on and I meet Ashley, and it would be easy for me to go, oh, all my relationships turn out the same. They always turn out by me not being able to trust the woman I'm with. So, you know, I just want you to know that's how it goes. Now, as soon as I do that, I have actually fueled this relationship with distrust. But by saying in the past, I have had relationships that I could not trust. By a simple shift of that, our consciousness understands the difference. The key here is what our consciousness does with this stuff when we tell our stories. Then all of a sudden I create something new here by remembering I am a powerful, creative, spiritual woman. I am a powerful, creative, spiritual man with a powerful, creative, spiritual woman. And, and so this is a trustful relationship. This is a relationship filled with trust. And I hold that and know that, because that's another piece to when we share our stories from the past, is remembering to state very clearly what's true about the present. You know, just this morning, I was telling Ashley about a story about my past, which is in my last marriage. I lived in, before I got married to my last wife, I lived in a small house in which I had a very low mortgage and had a pretty backyard. And I didn't have to work very hard to keep it up. I lived a very small life. And so when she came into my life, she said she wanted a big house on the mountain. And I said, oh, I can't do that. I'm very comfortable right here in my small house, in my small life. And she said, well, I want this big house on the mountain. I said, that's very precarious. So I actually made an agreement with her. Her and I came to an agreement that I would not have to create any more money, that if we lived in this bigger house that had this bigger mortgage, she would be responsible for the difference, that all I had to come up with was what I was already coming up with. Now, that may sound fair to some of you, but it left me living a very small life, and in the end tore our relationship apart, amongst other things. But that was a big part of it. Now, when I was telling this story, I wanted to make it very clear that that's who I was. That's not who I am. Who I am is a big player now who wants to create very large, who stands for reaching around the globe and touching lives everywhere. And that small person who wanted to live that comfortable life was who I was, not who I am. And so by being crystal clear in explaining this story, I left that story in the past so that that story does not run me now. Instead, I get to choose what runs me. But when we don't do that, when we share our stories like, I was such a failure in music, so I just don't know if I can be successful at that. I just brought that story into the present by stating it that way instead of in the past. I was never very successful at music, but that has nothing to do with who I am now. So of course I will create successfully now. Now I've said that story differently. I said the same thing because I am not talking about denying our past. I want to be clear about this, that I am not sitting here speaking that what we should do is deny what happened to us or our stories. I'm talking about how we describe them, in the way we use them so that they do not continue to run our present day. This is the big piece, because all of us have stories, many of which are very traumatic. Some of us have PTSD. Those stories were so traumatic. And so when we tell them, they actually act like they're still going on. We have that experience. And as soon as it happens, we've actually fueled a future we don't want. We don't want that future. So it's important to get a hold of these stories, get a hold of ourselves, and make sure we explain ourselves in a way that works. It doesn't mean those stories didn't happen. It just means they're not to be brought into being a part of our present day. We have choice over this. But it takes a conscious thought to go, how am I going to tell this story so I'm not bringing it into my present reality? And sometimes we can be very loose about that because we're just sharing about our past, right? And think, oh, it's no big deal. I'm just sharing about my past. But words have power. That's what we teach here. And so there is no flippant way to talk about something that happened in the past without being very clear with our thoughts and our feelings and our actions that we are not bringing it into our present, not using it to fuel our future. Because that's what we're doing every single moment of our lives. It is, there is a saying that everything we speak or say is a prayer. And in a way, that's actually true. Everything we bring forward fuels who we are today and what we create tomorrow. Everything. So taking a hold of stories in particular, which are very powerful. Everybody knows the power of stories. We love to listen to stories. We love to tell stories. This is a big deal. It's not a small thing to share this stuff. So making sure we share it consciously, making sure we are taking steps to keep in the past what belongs in the past by saying in the past, by saying up until now, whatever works, keeping it back there, not bringing it into the present. That makes us powerful, because the truth is we are powerful, creative, spiritual beings, and our lives work. Our lives work magnificently. And that's the truth that roots all the way down, not those stories about our past. Okay, let's do a meditation on this. Sit back, take a deep breath, and relax. Imagine yourself on a path. It is the perfect path. How it feels on your feet, the air against your skin, the light, the sounds. It is the perfect path. And imagine you come to a clearing. Perfect clearing. This is your sanctuary. The view, the sights, the sounds. Absolutely perfect. And there's a chair there. It is the perfect chair. Go sit in it and feel the sitting in that chair. Take another deep breath and relax even further. Now tell yourself your story. That story that you repeat to people all the time. Imagine yourself, just tell yourself that story that you share with everyone about your life, about an incident in you, whatever that story is. Now tell you that story again, but this time say either in the past or up until now as you tell that story. When you reach the end of the story, repeat again, that was the past. I know that that's who I was. That's not who I am. Repeat to yourself, that's who I was. That is not who I am. I am a powerful, creative, spiritual being, and my life works. Repeat again, I am a powerful, creative, spiritual being. My life works magnificently. Thank yourself for this new way of being with your story. And remember that you can be with any story this way. The past is in the past. It is not who you are now. And when you're ready, you're on.